With us on the CNBC Newsline is Fred Kemp. He's president and CEO of the Atlantic Council and a CNBC contributor. Fred, thanks for joining us. You know, earlier before the president left for Europe, he said it might be that his meeting with Vladimir Putin would be the easiest of all of his meetings. But do you think that's still going to be the case now with these indictments today?
No, I don't think it is going to be the case. I was in Brussels for the NATO meeting. I happen to be in London today. I'm not going to Helsinki. But you have a divided administration to start with. You know, he has been completely at odds with his top advisors on his major foreign policy problem, which is how do you handle Russia. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo assured Congress last month that Trump would take a firm stand in Helsinki on election meddling. It took some time for Trump to make that turn. He'd much rather have a summit where he can get along and move things along with Vladimir Putin. I think we're in a situation right now where he'll be going into that summit where it's absolutely not debatable that there's Russian election meddling, and Mueller's indictments really have, to a certain extent, done what Trump does so often, which is steal the show and steal the news show right now.
So can you forge a closer relationship? I mean, there are all sorts of headlines crossing right now, Fred, from a Kremlin aide about what the two men could discuss, that they want to join forces perhaps and address the humanitarian crisis in Syria at least, and that they hope that the talks will pave the way for each other to visit each other's capitals. Can you make nice like this with these indictments now unveiled?
Well, it's hard to have a coherent diplomacy when you have differences in your own administration. But the things that were moving forward were the possibility of a new START agreement being extended. It runs out in 2021, so at the beginning of a 2020 or newly elected administration. This would be a good time to extend it for another 5 years. That would be a good news moment. It would be 100 days ahead of midterm elections. It would be a way for President Trump to show that he can not only do deals with NATO and Brussels, but he can make peace with Putin in Helsinki. So that's still a possibility. And Syria, clearly, President Trump would like to have Iran playing less of a role in Syria, further from the Israeli border out if he could get it. I don't know how far he's going to get there with Putin. Putin would want to have some easing of sanctions and some loosening of support for Ukraine. I doubt that we're going to hear anything about that on Monday, but those are the major issues that I'm looking at.
How closely will the Europeans be watching? After all, we heard Theresa May saying she was lauding the meeting with Putin, and yet at the same time, the European Union has very stiff sanctions against Russia right now. How closely will they be watching what comes out of the Putin-Donald Trump summit?
Well, they're going to be watching it very closely, but I would say particularly the Ukrainians, the Georgians, the people who really depend on U.S. support. The good news is that President Trump came out of NATO with the alliance together, and one didn't necessarily know that was going to be the case at the beginning of the day yesterday. But the alliance was together. But on the other hand, there was a lot of acrimony among the leaders. And so they're going to very much want, the best outcome would perhaps be nothing much happening in Helsinki, that the status quo stays. A better outcome yet would be moving forward on arms control and lessening tensions, and I think that's what the Europeans would hope for.
Hey there, thanks for checking out CNBC on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe to stay up to date on all of the day's biggest stories. You can also click on any of the videos around me to watch the latest from CNBC. Thanks for watching.